This is today on eNCA with me, Dan Moyane. The insurgencies in northern Mozambique have left thousands of people dead and displaced and continues to torment civilians. The Islamist militants have seized a heavily defended port in Cabo Delgado province after days of fighting. That's the port of Mocimboa da Praia. South African mercenaries have been contracted to provide air firepower, but this has failed to end the instability. Let's get more on the story from the director of the Mozambican Centre for Democracy and Development, Mr. Adriano Nuvunga. Adriano, good morning, and thank you very much for your time this morning on eNCA. I understand President Philip Nyusi has just visited camps that are housing tens of thousands of people who've been displaced by this conflict in Cabo Delgado, and he promised to, I'm quoting, do everything so that peace and stability are restored. Is this possible, or is this a pipe dream?
Well, these kind of words, these statements, they have been kind of heard for the past 3 years now. And what we see is escalation of the conflict. So I wouldn't expect a different statement from the president. But what I'm saying is that what we have seen is escalation of the conflict.
And now this is 3 years going on and the conflict is escalating. So is the government failing to resolve this conflict?
Yes, government is failing to repeal the insurgents who seem to be gaining capacity, confidence, and better organized to the point of, as you have clearly said, to occupy strategic infrastructure such as the Mocimboa da Praia port.
Is the local support for the insurgents, is that why they are becoming more confident 3 years on?
They seem to be clearly grounded on local dissatisfaction with that area being clearly neglected or being clearly neglected by Maputo government for decades. So there is dissatisfaction by the youth, but there are also all sorts of groups that are coming to loot natural resources, which are alluvial. There are also groups who are trying to control drug trafficking routes. So you have a lot of a cocktail, really, of issues that contribute for that. But one should not neglect that there is support from local young people who are easily recruited, also because they have been neglected. And then government has neglected all early warning signs that the Cabo Delgado, particularly the northern part of Cabo Delgado, was becoming problematic and would easily become a war zone. Government has neglected that.
Is this war zone, is it being driven by religion? I'm asking this because we've heard of Islamic State links being reported. Or, as you said, because people are dissatisfied for years, they feel that they've been neglected by the government in Maputo. And now with the discovery of natural resources like oil and gas offshore Cabo Delgado, people are hopeful that they will have a better future.
Well, there are reports clearly showing for decades that there has been a growing Islamic radicalization in the area, and government has systematically neglected that. But one needs also to consider that that area of Cabo Delgado has also historically been used by international drug trafficking groups, taking advantage of its strategic position and all drug that takes the corridors all the way to the south of Mozambique. It comes from that area. So you have a cocktail of issues, but obviously one should not neglect this issue of jihadist, of Islamic radicalization, as I have alluded to in my previous
So there's an issue around development of the area, there's an issue of radicalization. Now, Mozambique is about to assume the chairmanship of SADC, which is a regional body. You have South Africa here. We've seen reports of private mercenaries trying to support the Mozambican Air Force there, but not successfully, according to the reports that we've seen. Should there be a regional military intervention, although IS, the Islamic State, has threatened neighboring countries not to get involved?
We have been calling for SADC and the African Union to intervene. Our understanding is that if Mozambique is failing and Mozambique is allowed to fail in the face of insurgency, that will mean the entry point of the Islamic State to the region. So the region does not want that. With that considered, we have seen not appropriate efforts from Maputo government to make use of the regional infrastructure in terms of diplomatic corridors, and we have been criticizing seriously the policy option of using the mercenary groups, as they can be a temporary solution, and they are failing even on that ground, but in the medium and long term, they become a problem. So we expect the Maputo government to make proper use of SADC and to mobilize regional support, not only to help Mozambique to fight it, but that is a way of keeping the region safe from the penetration of the Islamic State.
Is your sense, Adriano, that when Mozambique assumes the chairmanship of SADC and the President, Philip Nyusi, will push SADC for military intervention, asking for instance, South African Defence Force to get involved?
We as Mozambicans, as the custodians, we expect that to happen. That is what we are calling for. We are calling for the region. We are calling for regional solidarity to come and help Mozambique. But as I've said, politicians, they tend to opt for easy solution, and they seem to be keeping with the mercenary private group that is supporting, which is clearly failing. So although they use that, we are calling for a regional solidarity, for a regional support, and we would want to see the Maputo government being transparent on the extent to which is pushing SADC and the regional solidarity to come and aid Mozambique.
Thank you very much, Adriano Nuvunga, for your analysis and insights this morning here on Today on eNCA.